Hi everybody, thanks for tuning in to this episode of English Turks where I review your favorite Turkish series with and without English subtitles. And today we are talking about Kalp Yarasi, episode 26. This episode, guys, was centered all around Adnan, which is the father of Ferit and Sinan and Yaman. Like, he's their dad. He's supposed to be the patriarch of the family. And basically, he's going through some tough things, right? So a lot of his history has been revealed. The fact that he cheated on his wife, had a child out of wedlock. And then, he cheated on his wife again with his nurse. He never apparently loved her, and she knew this, but she wanted him anyway. And knowing all of this, I think like a few episodes back, she had a vision, or not a vision, but a memory of when Adnan bought her childhood home for her. And so, and it's crazy because I'm trying to figure out what happened. So, as you know, Adnan, from the very beginning, he chose money over love, right? So he ended up choosing to marry Azadeh and build back up her father's company versus marrying the woman that he loved, who he had a child with, okay? And so the woman that he loved had the child, and they let everyone believe that both mother and child died, but in fact the child did not die. He gave the child to the caretakers of his property to raise as their own so that he could also see his child grow up. That child happened to be Yaman. Now, some kids might think, man, my dad couldn't keep me, personally, but he did something good for me by giving me to someone close by so he could be close by to, because he could have easily just gave that child away. Yaman is a true love child, if you think about it. It's his only love child because the other two children he had, apparently he never loved Azadeh. So, anyway, everything comes to a head, right? The sons find out that the dad cheated on him with the nurse, which was all set up by Yaman because Yaman wants to get revenge. And so, we're dealing with all of this. We open up the episode with Adnan coming to Ferit's wedding and fainting there. And so the whole episode, being that we saw the trailer, you're trying to figure out how is he going to die, right? And you're thinking it's gonna be because of his health issues, but that doesn't turn out to be the case. So he has this whole fainting spell or whatever. The doctor guy, he helps him. They take him to the cabin, which is ridiculous because just take him to the hospital, but they did it. They took him to the cabin in his own car, and they ended up taking him to the cabin, and he gets overseen by the doctor. The doctor says, I'll call my cardiologist friends, we'll look through this. But then Ferit ends up kicking the doctor out of the cabin just because he starts putting ideas into Aisha's head, which I kind of agree. However, I do think the health of his father is a bigger concern. And in that moment, it seems like Aisha can handle herself pretty well. But he's kind of trying to get Aisha to see hey, this family never, every single day they have something happening to them. And honestly, within the span of just a few days, so many terrible things are happening back to back to back. Now, on top of all of this taking place, our very best friend was released out of prison into the care of her mother's hand, and I just don't understand that whole thing. I cannot put my finger on it. It's just too much. Okay, I can't comprehend how she gets let out, and she's not even on house arrest or anything like that. But she ends up going with her mother to her hotel. Her mother trying to be firm with her, but she is not taking that firmness. At first she seems like she's trying to submit. She's so excited and wants to rub it in everybody's face that she's gonna have a baby. But little does she know that like nobody cares. Nobody's happy for her. And the only person that even gives her a slight grin is Iman. So she tells her mother is like, listen, you need to be a better person for your kid. That doesn't work. Then she goes and she tries to rub it in Iman's now ex-wife. I'm trying to think of her name. I'm so terrible with their names. So she tries to rub it into her face, but then she is just more heartbroken, but she's not trying to show it to her. And then she goes and rubs it into Adnan's face, and Adnan's like, get out of here. No, actually, she goes to her dad. Her dad kicks her out of the house. Crazy. And then she goes to Adnan, and Adnan's like, yeah, give me a break. I don't care. Get out of here. So no one's excited for her to have this baby, but she could care less. I mean, she's completely like psycho. Okay? So going back to Adnan, he leaves the house. He goes and tries to reproach Yaman. Yaman could care less, not giving him back his property. So in order for Azadeh not to get all his wealth during the division of property, he signs away his property over to Yaman. And then, which I find weird, like how is he able to sign over his property to Yaman when he got sick? Azadeh went and decided she wanted to run the company. She makes a lot of the final decisions in the company, and so it's kind of weird. Like, I'm not understanding like who owns seniorship, and the fact that he was able to sign the property over without her knowing is kind of weird. She does end up finding out through her detective guy that she is running all over the place for her henchmen, I guess. But yeah, Yaman's like, go tell the family, I don't care, I'm still not giving you back anything. And so he's like at a crossroad where he doesn't know what to do. He wants to make things right for his kids, but at the same time, he doesn't know how to do that. He is reproached by Azadeh, and he tells her, like, listen, I'm going to fix this. He tried to go and tell the entire family, you know, that Yaman is their brother and stuff like that. But again, what I hate what these writers do is that they draw out his speech. Like, how many times are you repeating everything that they already know? Sinan's like, get to the point. And Sinan was right about that. Sinan is kind of a hothead, so he fires off without thinking, whereas Farid, he thinks before he speaks. And so they never actually get to the point of finding out from their father that Yaman is their brother, because Sinan gets a phone call from the company basically saying that they lost all their money. And so in the process of that phone call, Adnan leaves, and now they're trying to figure out what's going on. So Feder and Sinan go to the company trying to figure out what's happening. The Azadeh goes and yells at Adnan about what he did, and saying that she knows what he did and everything like that. The fact that she knows what he did but did nothing to stop it is kind of weird. I don't know. Maybe because she found out after the fact. I'm guessing that's the case. But then they end up going to, where do they go? She goes to the company to talk to her sons to delve everything out. Now, there is an interesting conversation that happens between, I don't remember how to say his name, but the guy who is angry with Adnan. You know, his childhood was stolen by Adnan's father. He has a conversation with Yaman. He's the one that ended up telling Yaman that that was his father and all that stuff. So they have this conversation, and he's saying, are you going to pity your father? Like, are you going to be sad if something happens to your father? And he says, no, why would I be sad? I'm not going to be sad. And then all of a sudden we see Adnan back on this cliff. He loves to go to these cliffs. I don't know why, but he's on this cliff, and then all of a sudden he's like getting in the car, and it seems like he's just driving off the side of the mountain. Now, I don't know what happened, because when he's at the bottom of the mountain and he's like up against the steering wheel, his eyes are open, he's clearly passed on, a hand comes, pushes his head back, closes his eyes. But then they skip over to the scene of Azadeh getting in her car and crying. Now, the one thing I was trying to look for is the person that closed his eyes had on black gloves, I guess to cover their fingerprints. They had on this jacket, so I was trying to see who has on this jacket, but I couldn't see anyone as it kept going wearing this particular colored jacket. So no clues as to who might have done this. It could have been that guy that can't stand Adnan. It could have been Azadeh, because she gets back in the car crying, and she was actually the last person to really speak to him, even though she didn't tell the police that. So then the sons end up finding out that their dad has had an accident. They go to the crime scene and they find out that he's dead. And also Yaman, I would say he could be a suspect, but then he seems shocked, running over to the crime scene, seeing what happens, actually heartbroken a little bit by it. And he's starting to get like little memories of things that his dad had did for him, like buying him a certain type of toy that, and Yaman's like, well, I saw the other two, your sons have that same toy. And he's like, yeah, and I want you to have that same toy too. So it's kind of like, you know, even though he wasn't claiming you outright that you're his son, he was still doing his best to be a father on the side. Just because he didn't claim you in public doesn't mean that he didn't love you, because it was very clear that he loved Yaman, so much so that he even put Yaman in his will. So all these things, you know, I guess little by little he's starting to remember these things, but then he goes and sees our favorite female, and she reminds him, like, he never, you know, let you call him dad and all this stuff. Remember our goal, we're gonna walk in that mansion and we're gonna own everything. Remember this, remember this. And then she tries to play that love thing with him, but he's kind of a little bit over that, and he kind of ups and leaves her there. They all have to go to the police station because they think that it's not because of his health that he went over. Some of them are saying it's suicide, but the police feel like there's something more to this, but now they have to figure out what happened. Then towards the end, they end up, Yaman and our favorite girl end up coming to the house and claiming it as their own, and that's kind of like how we end the episode. I mean, a little bit between the time of them trying to figure out what happened and Yaman coming to the house and claiming it. I did not see a bit of that part, but I'm sure it was probably not that much that I missed. But here's the thing. So now they have to go through this of figuring out about the whole property thing. Now, I'm thinking somewhere along that plot storyline, Feta is going to have had some kind of clue of this or have some kind of escape route. I doubt that they're all now dirt poor and Yaman owns everything. I doubt that that's the case, but we'll see. I mean, Feta is a lawyer. He could probably swindle through some things, you know. If they find out that the person who conned them was Yaman, maybe he can go to jail for that. I mean, we'll see what happened. They wanted that moment. They got that moment. And then the rest of them are in the house trying to figure out what's going to happen next. Now, there was no episode this week, and I'm guessing it's because of the holidays, and I'm sure there'll be an episode next week, and they'll have a fragment out. I'm excited to see what happens next. I feel bad that we actually lost another character, an actor of this series, because now Adnan is no longer in the series, and also his brother, we lost him a couple of episodes back. So we'll see what happens in the upcoming episodes. We also still have to contend with Aisha's grandfather and what he's going to do in regards to the whole transplant of the kidneys. And then apparently there's supposed to be a new actress coming on scene, and she's supposed to be somebody, I don't know who she is. And then we'll see what happens. Is the tool gonna stay in there? What about just so many different actors and actresses, character plots, some of them kind of dying out, some of them still making their way. We'll see what happens. Let me know what sticks out to you guys about this particular episode and what you are confused about, or if there's something that you noticed that I didn't talk about in this. Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll talk to you guys in my next review. Bye!